Okay, hi. So some people have been asking me my process for making peony flowers. So I thought I'd just show you guys quickly. So start off with a log of cold porcelain or air dry clay. I don't have a small enough rolling pin, so I use a paintbrush. And I use it to roll out the cold porcelain or air dry clay. And I make a ridge in the middle. And this is where my wire will go. So I roll it out so there is a ridge in the middle, making it nice and thin. So once I've got that ridge, I then extend it out so that it is large enough for the cutter. So it should look something like that. And then for peonies, I use two cutters. So they're peony cutters from Amazon or eBay, just standard ones. So I do 2 layers of smaller petals and 2 layers of larger petals. And each layer, so the first layer consists of around 6 to 7 petals, depending on how busy you like the flower. So I would cut out that many for this first layer. And you literally just cut it out. So you should have something like that. And then you just pop in a wire and then you vein it. Okay, so I've got a 26 gauge wire and I'm just going to pop it into the thicker part of the petal. Put it in about 1/4 of the way, not too far, because you don't want any wires poking out when you vein it. So you just got that attached in there like that. And then I have this peony veiner from Amazon, which works really well. So I then just pop it into my veiner. Give it a good push down. And there you have a peony petal. So it will be thicker in the middle where you've got your wire in, but it's not too thin so that it doesn't poke on the outside. So now once you've done that, you can move it over to a foam board so that you can thin out the petals more if you want it. Okay, so now that I've got it on my foam board, I'm just going to thin out the edges of the petals slightly, and also it will make them slightly curled. So with a peony, often the ends are quite curled in or frilly, so I thin down the edges with the large ball tool, like so. So half on, half off, roughly. You can see it gives like a slight curve, but not lots. And then if you want to do a more frilly look, then you just use the smaller end of the ball tool, and this will give you more frills. And yeah, so that's how I make my petals, or give them a realistic look. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to do all my other petals and then we can start assembling the flower. Okay, so once you've made your petals, you will want to make your stamens and your buds. So just to make the buds, you just need a ball of paste, and then you want to turn it into a cone. Just give it a slight cone, there you go, and that will then go onto a wire. So you will want a thicker wire for this, so I've got a 20 gauge wire, and then you just want to take some pliers and curve the end of the wire to make a hook. And then once you've got that hook, you just pop some glue on it. Just PVA is fine. And then you push the cone onto the end and secure it at the bottom. Now you need 3 buds for this, and once you've made all 3, you can then colour them. So to colour them, I use oil paints, and I use just green and yellow, just standard colours. And with that, you do something called dry brushing. So when you're using oil paints on cold porcelain or air dry clay, you don't want any moisture in it, so you just use it as dry as possible, so no water. And by using a very, very tiny bit of paint, and you slowly work up the colour. And I'll show you how that's done in a minute. So I'm just securing my buds to their wires. Once I've got all 3, I should have done this in advance. Once you've got all 3, then we'll start the colouring. So let's just turn this into a cone. There you go. Pop it in the end. Pinch at the bottom to secure it. And there you have your buds. So what I've got is literally just on a piece of paper towel, 2 colours, so green and yellow. And you'll need a paintbrush. And then I'm going to use the green to just paint the tip with the dry brushing. Okay, so you build up colour just by going around in circles. You can make it as deep as you like with the colour. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if you look at an actual peony, then obviously the colour may be slightly different, but I'm just going by what I think looks best. So yeah, you just colour it like so. And then once you've coloured with the green, you just move on to the yellow and do that onto the bottom half of the bud. And then I find that just gives it a really nice multi-tonal look to it, which I really like. And yeah, it doesn't take very long to do the buds. It should be pretty quick. Nothing too precise about it. So there you have your bud, and then you just colour all 3 of them, and then you can start making the stamens. Okay, so now that my buds are done, I'm going to prepare the stamens. So I've just got some basic double-ended stamens off of eBay. Again, you'll need some 26 gauge wire, and then you just fold it in half like so. And you pull over the wire, pinch it, so you've got your little grouped up stamens. And then what you need is some green, well, any colour floral wire, floral tape even, and you're just going to secure that. So you want to pinch the bottom bit of that, and then just add some tape, wrap it round to secure it, so that you have them properly grouped together, and so none of them sort of stray and fall down. And then you just put the floral tape down the wire, and yeah, simple as that. And then if you want to add colour onto your stamens, you can just grab some, again, PVA glue, add some glue to the tips. And then some people use semolina, but I just literally use soft pastel shavings. So I've got a couple of different colour yellow in a bowl. Sorry about a Toy Story bowl, it's my son's. I just dip it in like so. Cover the stamens, and then you have your stamens ready to go. Okay, so once you have got your stamens prepared, you need to then gather up your buds, your 3 buds, and then you want them at a slight angle so that they all fit in together. So just take your pliers, turn them at an angle slightly, nothing too much, just a little bit at an angle, and then you want to group them together. Okay, so group them together like so, and then you will need some florist tape, and you just tape them together to stop them from moving around. Again, the tighter you do this, the better. Don't need to go down too far, just while you still want to be able to move stuff around. So once you've got the 3 buds, you then want to grab your stamens, put it, and you want to put it in between the gaps. So bend that stamen slightly. You put the first one in. Wrap some wire around. Second one in the other gap. Again, bend it slightly in the second gap, and again tape it. And again, you can tape further up once this is all done. And then third one in, again bend it slightly, put it in the third gap. Tape it together, and then I will grab some tape and wire further up just to secure it in place. So let's pull that off slightly. Okay, so let's make sure those are in place. Doesn't matter if some of the colour comes off, because no buds and stamens are perfect, or at least I like to think so. So yeah, some more florist tape. Most people use half width, but I haven't got any half width, so full width it is today. Now I just tape it higher up, again to stop it from moving. Wrap the wire, wrap it around the wire, and there you have your buds and stamens. Okay, so before I add my petals, I need them to dry a little bit. So I want to dry them curved to give it shape. So what I've got is just a muffin tray with foil, and I place the petal in the muffin tray. I don't know if you can see. And just have them sat in there at an angle. And again, curve them how much you want to, but you want to let them dry for about half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on whether you're using cold porcelain or air dry clay, and that will give them a nice shape. So when you wrap them, when you start assembling them around the bud, it's got a nice curved shape to it. Okay, so now my petals have dried with a bit of a curve on them. I'm going to assemble the first layer of petals. So with each of them, you need to bend the wire back at a 90-degree angle before you arrange them around the flower head. Okay, so just bend them all, or you can do it one at a time, whatever you fancy. So here is obviously the bud and the stamens. So you just want to arrange the petals in the way that you feel is most natural. So start off with one and work your way around. Get some floral tape. And they don't have to be perfectly shaped at this point, because when you have arranged your first layer, you ideally want to hang it upside down to dry, and that will also allow the petals to continue, forming. Okay, so first petal, second petal, five, and let's just grab another petal. Okay, and so that will be 6 petals on my first layer. I think sometimes I do 5, sometimes I do 6. Today I'm feeling like 6. Okay, so this is what your first layer of petals should look like. So I'll just get my second layer of petals and I'll be back. Okay, so onto my second layer of petals, and really you want to stagger them. So you want to put it in between the last layer of petals, so you can see instead of it being directly behind, you want it to be in between if at all possible. And then that is the same with each petal that you add. You want it to be in between the layers. Again, this does not have to be perfect. The great thing about wired petals is that they are movable. So if you're not happy with the positioning, you can move them. Turn it upside down. Sometimes it's easier to turn the flower upside down when you attach the petals. Right. Let's get some more wire. Right, and my last petal of the second layer. So now that I've attached them all, I'm just going to bring the tape as close to the petals as possible so that they've got a snug fit. And that will give me the opportunity then to be able to move my petals around into the most natural fit. So the first layer has 6 petals and the second layer has 7. So with the third layer, I'll probably go with 8 petals. So this is what your peony should look like with 2 layers of petals. So you can see it's starting to build up some volume. Okay, so layer 3. Bend them back again. So by this point the peony is getting quite heavy, you have a lot of petals on here, and with the third and fourth layers, you really want to make sure that after you attach them, you do hang it to dry, so that it will keep its shape. Otherwise, you will find your petals lose their shape and just doesn't look as nice. It's all a bit of a, you've got to jiggle it around a bit, get it into a position that you're happy with. And like I said before, with them being on wires, they are movable. So if you're not happy with it, you can change it. Let's see, where else? On here. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, one more petal. Okay, so I've used a full 7 petals. Is it 8 petals? I think I've used, oh, it might be 8 petals actually, on this layer. And then the final one will have the same amount of petals. It's just, also it helps if you can try and curve it in your palms. If you can hang it in this position, the leaves will all fall into place. So this is what our peony is looking like after 3 layers. So nice and fluffy. So we've got one more layer to go, and then we'll have a nice full peony. Okay, so this is the final layer. So let's get attaching. Two. These last ones weren't on the ideal wire, so they are a little bit fiddlier to attach. I ran out of 26 gauge wire. So these ones are a little bit more fiddly. Ideally you want a 24 or 26 gauge wire, anything heavier than that, and it will be difficult to bend the petals the way that you want, as is the trouble I'm having right now. Right, one more to go, then our peony is done. Right, here, I think. Okay, so now that all of our petals are on, and you can see how the layers form, nice and thick. This is our finished peony. Now we just need to put the wire down the stem and then we can make leaves, but I will do that once the peony is completely dry. And that will take about 24 hours with cold porcelain and air dry clay. If you're using sugar paste, then it will start to dry quicker than that, but I still wouldn't recommend doing it any sooner than 24 hours, just in case you get any wires poking out of the sides of your petals. And sometimes things don't dry the way you expect them to, so you can always, while they're drying, you can always rearrange the petals. And like you can see here, the petals, until they're dry, will start falling down a bit, but actually that's okay with the peony because you want a variety in the way that the leaves sit. But I'm going to hang this upside down for 24 hours and then I will add on the leaves. So just one more stretch of tape and then we should be done. Okay, and there we go. There we have it. Finished peony. And let me know what you think of this tutorial and if you'd like me to do any other flowers, if so which. And if you do have a go, let me see your makes. Thanks.